Good evening, YouTube. Matt M. Roy back once again. Well. Hopefully, we don't have any technical glitches like I had the other night. I have the rear lights on, so just trying to get this lighting situation straight. Maybe if I sit a little closer. I think that's good enough. Well, I hope everybody's doing well tonight. I'm wondering if everybody has gone out and voted. A lot of people did early voting this year. I know I did, if it was available in your state. In the state of Virginia, early voting was like the last 2 months. We did ours way back in October. No, not really. Maybe like a month ago. So this is going to be just a Q&A video. I'm not going to, we can talk about politics if you want to, but it's not really what this particular live stream, it's going to have a multifaceted subject. So whatever you guys want to talk about, that's perfectly fine with me. Classic Mobile Home is here. Nick Roberts is here. Mr. Jimmy says, glad YouTube recommended me this, as I never get any notifications anymore. You've uploaded a video because you have marked your videos for kids. I actually haven't. I don't know why you're getting that. None of my videos are marked for kids. It's not set in my in my settings for that. So you may want to check yours. I'm feeling good, Brad. I'm feeling optimistic. Things are going better. Let's put it that way. And go vote. I'm telling you, that is the most important thing I can tell you out of anything that I will talk about tonight, is to go out and vote. We talked a little bit about this last night, but in this great democracy of ours, that is your single greatest, I'm going to call it a duty. It is your duty to go out and vote, because that's the only way you're going to get change, and the change that you want. And your vote matters in this country. Remember to bring something to drink. I'm on the diet ginger ale kick right now. More campaign jargon, more junk. Catching up on some news. Hurricane Eta has been upgraded to a Category 4 storm and is getting stronger as it approaches Nicaragua and aims to drag across Central America. Oof. It's still hurricane season for about the next week or two, but that's about it. After that, folks, I think we're going to be good. It's going to get a little too cold. Hurricanes actually need the warm oceans to strengthen. When it gets too cold, they just die out. So we'll get very lucky on that. Apple will hold one more product event on November 10th, where they are expected to announce a new lineup of MacBooks and iMacs. That'll be interesting. Let's hope. Well, I actually did some research on this, and the new generation of MacBooks and iMacs are not going to be as hard to upgrade by the user. In other words, they're going to have user replaceable batteries, user upgradable things like the SSDs, the memory, whereas in the past, you actually had to bring it to a Apple Genius Bar to get that stuff taken care of. Believe it or not, I don't know why. Well, I know why they wanted to do it that way. Let's face it, it's all about the greenbacks. Apple wants to have you bring it to them because at the end of the day, they make more money doing the upgrades. But now it'll allow people to do the upgrades themselves. I guess that's pretty much it there. Not too much else to talk about. Brad Smith has voted all Republican. Okay. okay. You don't have to tell me. I probably prefer that you don't tell me because I don't want anybody to be biased saying, "Oh, he voted Democrat or Republican." But if you want to, that's fine. That's totally your decision. Metro Elevators, hello to all and hello to Matt. Hey, Metro Elevators, nice to see you there. So this is once again a Q&A video, and I know we're not quite at 5 o'clock yet, but I wanted to get started, make sure we didn't have any glitches. Nick Albasi, this is off topic, but I work at a public works yard. Every month we do electronic collections, and we fill 30-yard dumpsters with computers, most of them newer. And I go, Matt could sell these. I'll bet you I could. There are a lot of municipalities that do that, and it's really sad. A big problem now is because of the current situation, companies are downsizing and closing, and they don't know what to do with all that IT equipment. So what they're finding that they need to do, one of two things. Either one, they try to sell it on something like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and if they have no luck there, then they're just sending this stuff to the dumps, and they're getting a tax write-off. So I would suggest, if you have something like that in your area, go ahead and try to pick some of that up. Although a lot of these dumps, these waste management locations that are taking this stuff, are very reluctant to let it go. And the reason is they are responsible for making sure that it is recycled properly. Tyler's here. I'm doing all right, doing as best as could be expected. Mom and I actually took a nice long walk at a local wildlife preserve today. Still trying to get exercise in, not as much as I did. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take it easy until I heal from my surgery. Robert Jones is here. Flips May just bought a Google router. I'm still running off my old Linksys. What is that? An EA 19. It's an AC 1900 router. So I mean, it's still technically decent, but it's old. It's got to be 5 or 6 years old now. Tyler, my Chevy Avalanche finally died. Had to break down and buy a new truck. I did see your vlog on that. Your new Ford. That's a sweet truck. That really is. My Yukon is not doing very well. I bought that about a year ago, and unfortunately, it had a lot more rust and rot than I thought. And what winds up, they were very good, and I'm usually very good at looking at stuff like that. But what had happened is somebody, probably the dealer that sold it to me, undercoated the bottom of the Yukon with like that rubberized rust. It's not a rust coat, like the bed liner you would find in a pickup truck. Well, it covered all the rot so I couldn't see it. And actually, I didn't start seeing it until about a year after I got it. And then it was too late. But you know what? The way I look at it is I've got my money's worth out of that vehicle. I'll probably keep it maybe for probably over the winter, and then spring I'm gonna have to sell it or scrap it. I actually have somebody. If you look at my video from yesterday, I explained that somebody that maybe wants to buy it for an LS swap. I doubt I'll be able to sell the Yukon for what I paid for it. If I remember correctly, I think I paid $2,200 or something. I did have to put some money in it. I put tires and some brakes on it, so I'm probably into that vehicle for $3,000, and I'm guessing, when the time comes, I might be able to get $1,500 for it, and that'll be mainly for the engine and tranny. Flips May, the rubber rust prevention is terrible. In Europe, we always use a tar type substance. That might be what this was. I'm not sure if this was the rubber or the actual tar version, but I will tell you, it is a pain in the butt because now that they have this and I'm aware of it, I'm going to be very, very cognizant of that when I go get my next vehicle. And they have the saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Well, I kind of knew that going into buying this vehicle, that I was getting a really good deal. And I was thinking, you know what? There's got to be a reason I'm getting a really good deal on this vehicle. And in the back of my mind, I knew it was probably something like that. But at the time, I was getting a lot of product in, and I really just needed a vehicle to move product around. And it has been great for that. And it still runs. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not dangerous. Like it's perfectly fine. I can drive it. It passed inspection. But by the spring, it's going to be a little too rotted for me to be comfortable driving. Tyler goes, oh, mine is rusty around the cab corner. Dealer told me the farm is got black paint, yet the pickup only 6 years old. Only one owner, all highway miles, 181,000. That's got the 5.0 Coyote engine. Yeah, I did see the vehicle, and I think you'd be able to take care of that rust. Just remember, once rust starts, it's very hard to stop it. So I don't know what they're telling you to do, but I would recommend cutting that out. Basically, just cutting that metal out and having them weld new metal in and paint it. And I saw the video. It wasn't that bad. This Jimmy got a free Dell Inspiron 1 2320 the other day. Had what looked like liquid or some screen. Foggy screen. Used for 3 hours and it went away. Probably left it out in the garage or something. Yeah, you get a little moisture behind there. Jack Snow, got it recommended. This I subscribe. Nice. See, and that helps me when you give me that thumbs up. If you enjoy this content, it'll go higher in the YouTube algorithm, and they'll be able to recommend my videos to more of you out there. Nathaniel Amos, I got an 88 Buick, and it has busted cylinders. If it's what I'm thinking of, it's probably got a first gen 3800 in it. Those were fantastic engines. The fact that it's got bad cylinders actually kind of surprises me. Those were known to go forever, but everything breaks down eventually. Have you heard that GM is going to start selling EV conversion kits in the second half of 2021? Sounds super interesting. I haven't heard about the conversion kits. I know that they're going to be selling a all-electric Hummer. As a matter of fact, they're actually doing that already. Wow. Well, if the government gets their way, i.e. the left, then what's going to wind up happening is they're trying to pass the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is basically I don't want to say it's an agenda, but it's a deal where I think it's by like 2030 or something that all vehicles have to be electric. Like they're actually going to, if this passes, they're going to outlaw the sale and, from what I understand, use of vehicles that run on gasoline or internal combustion engines. So we're talking about not just cars and trucks. We're also talking about planes, trains. Everything has to be electric. So yeah, the Green New Deal to me is completely unrealistic too. That's why you have to vote. You have to vote, folks. You have to vote for the candidate you think is going to do the most good. I'm not going to tell you got to vote one way or the other. Mark Covington. Hey, Mark. Nice to see you. He goes, Matt, the left rear tire on my HHR keeps giving an inaccurate reading in pounds. Why is that? If it's giving an inaccurate reading, then your tire pressure monitor, there's a little sensor in there that has a battery, and as they age, the battery dies. So that's what I'm thinking is happening. The battery's probably dying. The only thing you can do is bring it to your like a local tire shop, and they'll have to just replace the sensor. It's ironic to me that you can't just replace the battery. You actually have to replace the entire sensor, believe it or not. Well, we're up to 14 people now. I'm actually still a pretty small channel, believe it or not. I think I only got slightly over 8,000 subs, but you know what? You guys can help me out. If you enjoy this content, make sure you share it. Daurora's back. Hey, Daurora. The Green New Deal is terrible for classic car collectors and enthusiasts. Hope it doesn't get to the point where we will have to buy new old stock gasoline on eBay. I'd highly doubt we're going to get to that point. I really don't. I think it might come up for a vote depending on how the election goes, but I don't think it's going to pass. And the reason I don't think it's going to pass, think about this. Try to comprehend what that would mean. Every person in the entire country that owns a vehicle that runs on the internal combustion engine, they would either have to replace that vehicle with an electric version, or they would have to get it converted to electric. So it's almost like the Cash for Clunkers back in 2009, where they were trying to get all these old gas guzzling clunkers off the streets and get better fuel economy out there. I just don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong, but if you ask me, I don't think it's feasible. Surely they would let us drive old classic cars. Well, it's going to depend on what version of that bill passes. If it passes as written now, no. The way I read the bill, it's completely electric. In other words, well, I think there might be a stipulation there for hydrogen vehicles, but anything that runs on an internal combustion engine is basically going to be illegal. Flips me. The U.S. produced very little pollution. It comes from China and Europe. German just built a new coal power plants, multiple power plants. Yes, there is some truth to that. China is probably the worst offender out of there. I don't know about Germany. When you think about Germany, you think of them as being very technologically advanced. So you would want to believe that they would be able to control their carbon footprint. I honestly don't know enough about that to have an opinion one way or the other, but I do know that China is one of the worst offenders. And the reason China is so bad, China is very young in their economic development. When you go back even 20, 30 years ago, they were really a third world country. Most Chinese people didn't even own a car. They weren't able to drive anywhere. They were rural, they were agricultural. Well, now everything has changed. China, because China makes the majority of our electronics. Let's face it, since the 80s and the 90s, and ever since then, the economic climate has changed from an agrarian to a suburban or a industrial society, agrarian to industrial. And when that happens, watch out, folks, because now they don't have they have the ability to make all these products, but they don't have the ability to do it efficiently and without creating a lot of pollution. So, there's really nothing we can do. I mean, we've tried to sanction them, but the government just doesn't work, unfortunately. Thank you, Mark. $5 super chat. Always appreciated. Mark Covington. What do you think may happen to vehicles in 2021? Very little in the very near future. I think, even if the Green New Deal came up for a vote, it would take a long time, and it actually passed. It wouldn't be implemented until, like, we're talking about a decade or more down the line. Jack Snow, everything I have was made in China other than my Sega Mega Drive that was made in Taiwan. Technically same vicinity, but yes, I mean that's very typical. Saying the bell icon's not working. I need to look into that. I'm not sure what's going on. YouTube is making a lot of changes right now. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for. No, seriously, I'm not. I don't want to go. I don't want to go down that, bring up that can of worms, let's say. But if you know me and you know my side of politics, you could already guess who I voted for. Nick Abassi. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. I'm doing my best here. What happened to the PT Cruiser? I guess I missed that. Yeah, that was actually a long time ago. The PT Cruiser, I actually didn't even register that. Same problem. It was rotted, and it had an issue with it was ABS. Might have been the airbags on that one. I think that one had an airbag problem, and the combination of the two, I brought it to my mechanic, and he just said, "Get rid of it. It's not worth it." So I wound up selling that. It became somebody else's problem. A lot of evidence proves that this is Flips May, by the way. A lot of the evidence proves that the recent protests and riots are funded by George Soros and other nasty people. Yeah. I don't want to go with one particular group over another. I mean, Antifa's one. That's the main one, honestly, that usually funds this kind of stuff. But to me, the protests are very counterproductive because, okay, you can protest, but inevitably, and you said it right there, it turns into a riot almost every time. I would say 70, 80% of the time, the protests are turning into riots. And once you get to that point, you lose all credibility. I would love to flip a car, but the only problem with that is I would need Dad's help. Not physically. Physically, I would have to do the work, but intellectually, I am a novice. I am a enthusiast when it comes to cars, and I don't have the capabilities to do it on my own. So once he feels better, I think what we're going to try to do, we're either going to go to Copart, or more likely there is a local organization here called Eggleston Services that people donate their cars to, and I'll probably go there to one of their auctions and try to go ahead and buy a car and maybe try to flip it. Not going to pay a lot for it the first time. That's the key. Whenever you're trying to buy a car to flip, you need to make sure that you, especially the first time, you buy a cheap car. Now, by cheap, do you buy a clunker? Not necessarily. You have to do your due diligence. You want to bring your scan tool. I have an OBD2 scanner that I can hook up to the car, and I can scan for codes. There are other things you want to do. I watch We Hustle Daily, and he actually has a program. I think it's called WHDacademy.com. Not being paid to say that, by the way, where he teaches you how to look for a car. But even he says the first one you buy, you want to buy cheap, because if you make a mistake, at the very least you can sell that vehicle for scrap value. Scrap value's up right now. It's about, for the average car, I think it's about $400 or $500. So let's say you go to the auction after fees, maybe you pay $700 for your first vehicle and it doesn't work out. Then chances are you can scrap it for like $400 or $500, and you might be able to sell some of the other parts and recoup your money. Do you watch Chris FX or Scotty Kilmer? Scotty Kilmer, I do like his channel on occasion, although I don't always agree with what he says. I know he's a big Toyota fan. I have nothing against Toyota, though I always have bought American. I've only ever owned Chevys, Fords, and one Mopar, which would have been the PT Cruiser. Aurora, men in their cars. Yeah, definitely. Men have to have their cars. What are we at? 14 watchers, 11 likes. If you like this video, give me a like. If not, you can give me a dislike too. Ford or Chevy? Nathaniel Amos. That's a hard question for me to answer. I would have to say Chevy, just for the fact that I think for reliability, I do like my Chevys a little bit more. I've had better luck with Chevys in the past. I've owned both. GM in general, let's say. I'm not going to go say specifically Chevy, but General Motors vehicles. Toyota Corolla, best cars ever made. Jack Snow. Well, I can't deny that. I'm not going to say they're bar none the best, but they are very, very well made vehicles. I mean, you'd have to bunch in Toyota Camrys with that too, because Toyotas are very well made vehicles. There's no doubt about that. I would be remiss if I said that American cars were better built. They're not. They really aren't. The only reason I buy American vehicles is two reasons. Number one, my father was a 30-year mechanic, so he can help me out if I need something, if it's an American vehicle. And number two, I just they're cheaper and they're bigger too. So a lot of times I need the extra space. I do. The Buick LeSabre is still in the family, but my father owns it now. I just own the Yukon and the Tahoe. Never bought an American car. Any cheap American cars you recommend? The Buicks. The Buick LeSabre by far is one of the best vehicles I've ever owned. I've owned two of them. Pretty much anything with that 3800 engine, Series 2 or 3. They do have weak transmissions. I got to be careful how I say this. Their transmissions are their weak point, but as long as you get a mechanic to look at it and clear it, they're great vehicles. They can go a couple 100,000 miles easy. We're getting a lot of people commenting on this. You guys really love your cars too. Mercedes-Benz 240D. It's good. They're good. That was the small Mercedes. You had the 500 series or the 400 series, and then the 200 series. The 240 was the little tiny diesel. They could run a long time, though they were incredibly lacking in power. I mean, literally, if you were to pull off, even if it was the turbo. I mean, they had the turbo and the non-turbo version. The non-turbo version, 0 to 60, was probably 25 seconds. The turbo version, maybe 18. Like, you would, pulling off from a stop, you would have to be very careful. Nick just bought a 2013 F-250 for his landscaping business, 10 miles to the gallon. Yeah. They never said that American cars or trucks were good on fuel. They generally are not. What would be your dream car if money was no object? Believe it or not, I've always wanted a DeLorean. I know they were absolutely garbage vehicles. They were horribly made. They had an incredibly underpowered engine. But being a huge Back to the Future fan, I always wanted to own one. Now, if money was no object, what I would do is I would get that DeLorean and I would take out that crappy PRV Renault built engine that they had in there that made like 80 horsepower, and I would swap in an LS motor, or probably an LS motor. Very easy to do too. You can actually order them from a company that bought all the parts that make the DeLorean still. You can order it with that engine in it. I don't know why back in the day they chose that PRV engine. And it wasn't necessarily a bad motor per se. Like, it was a reliable engine, but it was a dog. I mean, it was like the slowest engine you could get, and being that DeLorean was all stainless steel, it was super heavy. It just was a very bad pairing. That's very good. DeLoreans were actually built in Ireland. I still consider them, though, an American vehicle, because wasn't John DeLorean himself an American? I think it was actually an American. I thought it was an American company, but that's not surprising. I mean, if you know the Ford Crown Victorias back in the day and the Grand Marquis, they were actually built in Canada, most of them. Not me personally, Nathaniel. I would never be able to do an engine swap. Not on my own. I would have to have a lot of help. Mark Covington asks, the display on the screen of my Eclipse audio system flickers quite a bit. Any idea what could cause that to happen? If I remember correctly, you have the Chevy HHR. Let's see, that was that same generation of radio. They put in like the '09 Yukons and the Suburbans. If memory serves, those had issues with bad solder joints. If it's just flickering, I wouldn't worry about it. If the display, eventually the display will probably totally go out. And at that point, you're better off just replacing the radio. You can actually, there are services on eBay that offer radio swaps. Basically, you would take the radio out, and you would go ahead and buy one on eBay. They would send you the new radio, and you would send them the old one, and you can get them done really cheaply. I think under $100. Or you can go aftermarket. A lot of people go aftermarket. Subaru is built in Indiana. Yeah, a lot of Japanese cars are actually built here in the States. Missing Mesh. Who do you think will most likely win the election, Joe or Donald? That's a hard one. My gut is telling me Biden's going to win, and the only reason I'm saying that is by what the polls are saying. But you got to remember, last time the polls had Donald Trump way behind, like this time, and he pulled out a win. Think about this. Middle America is full of Trump supporters. You have the people in the they call it the Rust Belt, but the Farm Belt, all out in Kansas and everywhere. They're not answering these polls, and they are very motivated to come out and vote. So if they come out in droves like last time and vote, then Donald Trump is almost a shoo-in. But if they don't, then I think we're going to see a Joe Biden victory. Yeah, some radios are VIN locked. You would have to bring it to a locksmith. They can take care of that. I'm trying to read Flips May. Are you referring to the old ones that I had, like that 350 diesel? If you are, they were a disaster. My father had a Bonneville, a Pontiac Bonneville, that actually had that 350 diesel that GM put in. Basically, what it was a Chevy 350 that they modified to run on diesel. And what was a big disaster about that is they didn't modify it properly. Diesel engines are very high compression. So what wound up happening was they'd be blowing head gaskets left and right because in of effect, you have a gas engine which usually runs at, like, back then anyway, was maybe like a 350 regular, not mod. It would be like eight to 1 or 9 to 1 compression. And the diesel engines are more like 12 or 13 to 1. So you'd be blowing head gaskets all the time. It was a good idea, but it just wasn't implemented properly. And that's been a theme with GM vehicles over the years. It just seems to me that they haven't been that great at making diesel engines. So if you're looking for a truck, don't buy a General Motors vehicle with a diesel engine, at least not an older one. Now that they went to the ones with the Duramax, those are actually really well built. Is it that much for the compression? I didn't think the older ones were. I thought the old diesel engines were more like 12 or 13 to 1. Classic Mobile, I like Cadillacs from the 50s to the 70s. Those were when they were boats, literal boats. I mean, if you don't know what a boat is, when you're referring to a car, just search it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not surprised Oldsmobile didn't pan out long term, and the reason is when they bailed out GM, they had to give up a couple of their branches, i.e., Oldsmobile, Pontiac, and very sadly Saturn. I honestly would have liked to have seen Saturn stay around. Mark Covington likes old school CDs and cassettes. Me too. I actually don't have one that has a cassette player anymore since Dad bought the Buick LeSabre. Nothing else I owned had a cassette except for that one. I do kind of miss it. I love listening to old music, especially on analog sources. More political ads. By the way, I shut the cats out tonight. I didn't want to get a lot of noise bleed through. Yeah, I think it would have been nice to keep Pontiac and of course we still have Buick. Olds was very similar to Buick in that sense, but I really think that it's good the way it is now. I think that both Oldsmobile and Pontiac were they were past their prime, and it was just time for them to go the way of the donkey and the butt, let's say, if you know what I mean. Citizen Dan, hello from Chesapeake. Jack Snow, anybody here drive electric scooters? Never have. I shouldn't say that. I've driven the scooter, but not electric. All the ones I've driven have been gasoline powered. If you are trying to figure out where your actual polling place is, I'm going to share a link here. If you haven't voted, which hopefully you all have, it's just vote.org. And you can click locate your polling place, and you can put in your address. I could put in my address here, and it'll tell me where my polling place is. That's funny. Where is it? Polls, they haven't closed here, have they? Man, find that one person. This can do your search results to see the election information. Oh, okay. Yeah, here you have to drop off your ballot. So basically, you would have to scroll down. You click on your state, and it'll bring you to in my case, Virginia Department of Elections. But follow the prompts on there if you haven't voted yet, and I hope everybody out there has. I think we're actually going to probably end this right about an hour in, because I really lost my voice last night. 2 hours is nice if you can handle it with your voice, but I'm not used to talking a lot, not like that, and I have to do a lot of talking during the day, so I think my voice box just got a little strained. We're not leaving quite yet. Not quite yet. Hey, Matt, how are your parents, Milo and Baxter? Everybody's doing all right. Can't complain. And even if I did, who's going to listen, you know? See if there's anything here. Okay. So there are no early election results, but I will tell you this. It is a must that Donald Trump wins North Carolina. North Carolina cannot be in play. If he loses North Carolina, he pretty much loses the election. But other states that are actually in play right now, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Arizona are the ones to watch this election. If you remember, last time Pennsylvania narrowly went to Trump. The reason he won so narrowly in there, generally Pennsylvania is more of a left-leaning state, but they have a lot of mining, a lot of that type of industry in Pennsylvania, a lot of mines, a lot of coal mines. And the Democrats wanted to shut a lot of that down. So they went out. I'm telling you, folks, your vote matters. They went out and they voted for Donald Trump because he was willing to keep that stuff open. So you have to be cognizant. You have to be aware of what is important, what initiatives, what agenda is important to you, and you have to vote your conscience, basically, what is important. Paul Kane, looks like a new unit on top of the MCS system. That one right over there. Yeah, I picked that up the other day at a garage sale. That is a Sanyo 8-track recorder. So it actually plays and records. Probably get around to doing a video about that eventually. But yeah, I mean that it actually works too. I think I gave the guy like $5 for it, and it's in really good shape. Saw a vehicle made up like the Mystery Machine from Scooby Doo. Tony Jones. Hey, Tony. Haven't seen you in a while. Social distancing be over long. Was the mask policy be over once Trump is reelected after the election? I don't think so. I really think for the long term, until we have a vaccine, they're going to wear masks. You're going to have to wear masks in public, and the jury's out on whether or not they're actually making a big difference. I think they help a little bit, but it's more of a comfort thing. Like if you go into a store, right, and you have your mask on, at least it's the illusion of some security. But do I personally think masks do anything? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's worth freaking out over. Like if somebody comes, if someone comes in near eight, I can't talk right now, guys. If somebody comes in 8 feet of you and they don't have a mask on, I wouldn't freak out about it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. We're all getting with you, Tony. It's been keeping me up at nights. Coffee time, not this late. Maybe for you. If you can handle caffeine this late at night, more power to you. Best I can do is ginger ale, which does not have caffeine. A lot of people think it does for some reason. Mountain Dew is full of caffeine, but ginger ale does not. And I'm doing good. This is diet ginger ale, so I'm not drinking any sugar. Though I should brush my teeth after. Yeah, the N95 masks are what they consider the what is the word? It's the professional mask. It's the one that PPE mask, and the cloth masks. They do very little. Somebody's doing burnouts down the street. A lot of people are going blah, 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 blah. I won't even if I could bike right now, I wouldn't on the street because people are just insane. I mean, people. I was driving the other day and there was a person on a bike and people were just zooming past him like not even thinking, not even acknowledging that person was there. It's very dangerous right now. I highly recommend if you are a bike rider like I am that you stick to side streets or like rail to trail paths. Just stay off the main thoroughfares. Should I worry? You should never worry. Folks, I don't want to go. I don't want to go down that road. And yeah, we're human beings. We're always going to worry. But if you're good with a big man upstairs, don't let things worry you. Just don't. It's not worth it. It doesn't add a day to your life. It really doesn't. It might subtract a couple, believe it or not, but it doesn't add anything to your life. Mark wants to buy the 8-track recorder. We'll see. I might hold on to it. I haven't decided. Mr. Jim, we just got LaCroix drinks in New Zealand. It's my new favorite. I like it too. I like the mango, peach mango is probably my favorite. I tried another one. It was like just a regular lime, and I didn't like that one. It was very fake tasting to me. Burnout Man must just have voted LOL. Man, I would love to do a burnout with that, like with that Yukon, because it's got the power to do it. But being it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, it physically won't do it because it not only is it all-wheel drive, it's also got posi traction. So theoretically, I think all four tires could be spinning at the same time, and it just can't do it. I mean, if you had a rear-wheel drive vehicle that wasn't all-wheel drive, then yeah, it probably could, but I don't know. I'm gonna try to baby that thing through the winter, see what happens. Classic Mobile won't put a TV in the bathroom. Oh boy. Oh boy. I bet they'll never see you go out of there. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. But when I was really young, we had a master bathroom that was literally right off of the bathroom was right off of the bedroom, but it was in like one of the older houses. So literally, there was a TV on the end of the bureau, and that was right where the bathroom was. So if I was watching a program, like I used to love to watch Double Dare, all the Nick shows, and I didn't want to miss it. And there were a lot of times that when I was young, my parents would be like, "Hey, you got to take a shower," because you're getting near bedtime. I would go take the shower. I'd leave the door open and I'd watch TV while I was taking a shower. Fun fact. But I used to listen to music more. What's your favorite side dish? Mine is carrots. That's funny. I don't eat. See, I don't really eat dinner much anymore. If I had to pick absolute favorite, Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts, and it has to be fresh. I can't do the frozen ones. They're just too bitter. 5-inch black and white portable, and the TV is for the wife. Got to keep the wife happy. Wow. We're almost at the hour mark, folks. You know what? I think we're going to end it here. My voice is getting pretty hoarse, and there are a few more things I need to do tonight. Thank you all for coming. Happy election night. Remember to get out there and vote. Please continue to like and subscribe. And as always, have a blessed day, everybody.